Okay, now we're recording.
We are currently holding on the bottom of page Tuf Kuf Yud Gimel, which would be 513 in the Sefer Likutim of the Tzemach Tzedek, the volume that has the letter Aleph for haOlam. The last two lines, and this is the last piece on the subject of the nations of the world's grasp of godliness and how they view hashgacha, their mistaken view of how Hashem interacts and supervises his created worlds and everything. And this is why they give and they worship actually the stars and constellations, etc., because instead of viewing them as mere tools, like the axe in the hands of the woodchopper, so of course you don't think the axe, you only accredit the woodchopper, they view it as a butler who serves the wine. So even though they know that he's just a butler and he works for the owner, for the king or whoever it is in the parable, and he's, it's not his wine that he's giving you, but nonetheless, because he is a person who has choice and he's doing his job and he's doing it well and he's serving you nicely. So if you want to get on his good side and you want to get, served properly, so then you should, tip him nicely, compliment him, or whatever it may be. So therefore, they end up serving what they think is the butler, although it's not a butler, and that's the wrong analogy. It's really the axe, the tool. Okay. And because of that, we said that they are not demanded to believe on the higher level of absolute bittul, of complete negate and nullification of all of existence, but they are permitted to view it, that they do exist, and that Hashem is the ultimate. He's the creator, and he makes everything exist, and everything is totally dependent on him. Whereas the Jew, the Bnei Yisrael, are obligated to believe on a higher level of Achdus Hashem, that Hashem Echad, not only that he is the creator, and he is the source of all, and he is the one that everything is totally dependent on, but that actually nothing truly exists outside of him. And then we got into the idea of the tzimtzum, that there's the tzimtzum in the literal sense, and then there's the tzimtzum from his perspective. And we said the truth is that the tzimtzum is from his perspective, that there is no real tzimtzum. All right, that's kind of a summary of what we've been saying. And now, again, we're on the bottom of the page. Let's see if we can finish this piece. Last two lines. Tzarich Lahavin, it needs to be understood. Mahu inyan shayu oivdim oivdei koichavim umazalois. What is the idea that the worshippers of those that worship the stars and the constellations, b'chama minim shoinim, in various different sorts? What is it all about? What were they doing? Which is, again, it's just incredible how it all works out. The Rambam, that those that are doing 3 chapters a day of Rambam, according to the institute that the Rebbe Moshiach has instituted, that we do Rambam daily, Maimonides. So tonight we actually start the laws of Avodah Zarah. So tonight is chapters 1, 2, and 3 of Avodah Zarah. So it
one
really
of my favorites. The first chapter. That introduction, yeah. I love that. I read that a couple times a year, I think.
So yeah, that's the Rambam for tonight. So it explains the Tzemach Tzedek. Ha'inyan, the idea is as follows. Kizeh le'umas zeh. Based on the verse, and this is quoted very often in Tanya and then all over the place, that literally it means this opposite this. So whatever we have in Kedusha we have its, so to say, counterpart, the opposite, but the same theme, the same idea, just in klipa, in the negative. And he explains, Kimoisha bekedusha, just as in the side of holiness of kedusha, hayu makrivim al gabe amizbeach, in the times when we had the holy temple, they used to offer and sacrifice upon the altar behemois tohirim, animals that are pure, that are kosher. And they would elevate, they would bring up the vitality, the life, to their source and their root, which is the face of the ox and the face of the nesher, which is commonly translated as eagle, but there are those that say that that's mistranslation and that a nesher is not at all an eagle, but that's a separate discussion. But be that as it may, it's a certain type of a bird. It's actually a non-kosher bird. It's in the list of non-kosher birds. So we're referring over here to the Merkava, the spiritual chariot of above, which is in the vision of Yechezkel, of the prophet Yechezkel, where he tells us that he saw the various different faces on the different sides of the chariot. So that really, those animals that are described there are actually the root and the source. Just if you have to down chain millions and millions, myriads of levels, ultimately you then get to the actual physical animal that we have in this world. But the way it is in its source, all the way up there, it's what's called the ox or the nesher. But of course, it isn't anything physical. And this ox, this face of the shor and the face of the nesher, are actually the Merkava, the chariot of above. And it's actually from them, they are the source, and from these faces on the chariot is where the very life is drawn from. The hanefesh, and the soul, for kosher or for pure animals and birds. As is mentioned in the Hasidic discourse with the opening words, verse from Shir Hashirim, the Song of Songs, Libavtini Achoisi, that you have, it's a hard word to actually accurately translate. We're going to translate it as you have shown me love, my sister. And that's a discourse in Likutei Torah on Shir Hashirim. As we know, there's a whole section, the last part of Likutei Torah is the discourses of Shir Hashirim. Parenthetically, even though Likutei Torah is officially the Alter Rebbe's Maimarim, the author of the Tanya, but different than Torah Or, Likutei Torah is a blend and mix of the Tzemach Tzedek in it as well. It's his transcribing, and not only transcribing, but actually putting in his explanations into the words of the Alter Rebbe. So Torah Or is much more strictly the Alter Rebbe's teachings, whereas the Likutei Torah is a mix of the Alter Rebbe and the Tzemach Tzedek. Be that as it may, in that Maimer, it is mentioned, what we just said now, that the actual soul of the physical animals and birds down here, ultimately their source is in the Merkava, in the spiritual chariot above. Third line, Lachain, therefore, Kishahayu Makrivin, when they would sacrifice, Behema, Oy Oif, an animal or a bird, Al Gabe Hamizbeach, upon the altar, Vinisale Hachayus, and the life of that animal was elevated, Limakoyroi visharshoi, to its source and root. What used to happen? So according to what the Talmud tells us, Hayoyreid would then descend Kidmus Aryeh in the form of a lion, the Achil Korbanin, that would consume the sacrifices. So there was this spiritual fire of above that came down, it looked like a lion. Hainu, meaning mibechinas pnei aryeh. This is one of the faces, although a lion is not a kosher animal, but this is one of those in the chariot. Besides the face of the ox, there is the face of the lion, El Hayamin, which says that was to the right side on the chariot.
Oh.
Sheba Merkava, which is in the chariot. So you take an animal or a bird, you kill it, you slaughter it, and then you take the animal and you place it on the altar, or parts of it, the various different parts that go on the altar, and you're elevating its vitality. And that's why this form of a spiritual lion would come down to consume it, because that's coming actually from the face of the lion of the chariot. V'nichlal hachayus, and now the life becomes incorporated and absorbed from these pure kosher animals and birds, sheboy, which is in it, likalel bifnei aryeh, to become incorporated, included in this face of the lion, lies merkava shelamayla, to become this chariot of above, Livichinas Malchus de Atzilus, to go up to the level of Malchus of the world of Atzilus. Ve'al Yedei, and through this process, so you took an animal, a physical animal, you offered it on the altar, and the life of that animal, the energy, the spiritual vitality went up. The lion came down and pulled it into it. Now what happens is, now that it went up to the world of Atzilus, to the level of Malchus of Atzilus, through this, Mamshichim, they draw down Hashpas Chesed, a flow of energy of Chesed, of kindness, V'iskalus Malchus Atzilus, and the revelation of Malchus, the final level of the world of Atzilus, Biviyah, down into the worlds of Bria, Yetzira, Asiya, creation, formation, and action. Kimoi Kain. So that was all in the holy side. Remember, we started off saying that we have this for the opposite that. So whatever you have in the holy side, you have in the opposite. So that's the way. Oh, he wasn't in yet? Ooh. Okay.
Here we go. I'm sorry. Okay. He's in. Good.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Now, does the three, they don't actually go from their perspective into Atsia? Do they only go to it?
It comes down into the world, into all the worlds. Yeah.
Or no. I'm sorry, Berea. They don't go into Atzilus. They're only go.
Who doesn't go to Atzilus? Who are you saying?
These three. So they are absorbed into the face of the lion.
And that would be Malchus of Atzilus.
Does he actually? Do they actually go into Atzilus, or do they only peer into Atzilus?
They come into the level of Malchus of Atzilus.
Oh, the Malchus of Atzilus. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah. And then from there, it goes down to Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. Right. Now, that was all in the side of Kedusha. That was all the way the system works when a sacrifice is being brought. So that's good. That's the normal way. Now he's saying, what is the counterpart in the opposite?
Oh, wow.
Kimoi Kain. So we're in the middle of the 7th line down. Kimoi Kain. Likewise. Bizeh leumas zeh. In the opposite, in this versus that, meaning in the side of Klippa. Chayois v'oifois tmeim, non-kosher, impure birds, animals and birds. Shar Sham, what's their spiritual energy source from? Their source, their root, Migimol Klipos Hatmeos, from the three impure Klipos. Since down here they are Tame, they were created as such that they are impure, which means that they're getting their spiritual energy, life, through the three Satmes, because otherwise they would be Klipas, they wouldn't be impure. Now in parentheses, Haga, the Tzemach Tzedek is writing a note, like a footnote. V'yesh la'ayin, so he's asking he's saying a note on himself, just said. And it would be necessary to delve deeply be'inyan in the idea of gamal, shafan, arneves, chazir. Those are four animals, hanizkarim beparshas Shmini, that are mentioned in the book of Leviticus, in the portion of Shmini where they have the law of kosher animals, the list. So there you have, these are all named as not kosher, as impure animals. Now, they are commonly translated in a way, but there's someone who makes a very strong case that they are all mistranslated. So it's really not relevant to what we're studying now, but common translation, or according to this, the common mistranslation would be Gamal is a camel, Shavan is a rabbit, Evis is a hare, and Chazir, of course, is the pig, or the what's the swine. But be that as it may, what they are, they're surely tamei. They're all impure. These four roimzim are his dal malchuyoy, to the four kingdoms, the four exiles, the negative kingdoms. Shehem, what these four kingdoms spiritually? Gimel, Klipos, Vinoiga. They are the impure, totally negative Klipos, and then the fourth one, the Klipoiga. Oi, or alternatively, Abiyah, the Klipa. World Vatzilus, Bria, Yetzira, Sia, but the rings that we'll talk about, but the ones of Klipa. So there's apparently such concept at the world of Vatzilus, of Klipa, etc.
So what would be the noga of those four animals?
I don't know, because noiga means that it's not impure innately, and all four of them are. So I don't know. Ad kan haga. Up to here is the footnote. So it's cryptic, but he's not explaining it. He's just bringing to our attention that if sacrifice, not talking about in the negative, the non-kosher animals, that they come from Gimel Klipos Atiyos. So they're just asking, well, they're really four. So how does that work? Because four, then the one will be Noigas and one impure. And I'm just assuming that that's what he's referring to, even though he's not detailing all that. Okay, now back to the matter at hand. Beginning of the line, Vizehu. Vizehu, and this is Shahaya, that there was, Ribui, many, Mine, sorts, Avoidas Kechavim, of idolatry, of worshiping stars. There's so many different worshippers, people, nations, worshiping so many different types of idolatries. Lefi, because Shehem Ayin Sarim, because those are the 70 spiritual ministering angels, the Chol Umma, and every nation, Shel Avodas Kechavim, of the idolaters, Oived worships or serves Sar Shalahem, their particular minister. That's who they are serving. Umaktir, and they offer incense. Umakriv, and they sacrifice. Umale, and they bring up Hachayus, the life, Gamkein mibehemois chulu, also from animals, but it's from non-kosher animals. So they offer sacrifices of these non-kosher, these impure animals, and they're offering it to their spiritual source of energy, their one minister of the 70. Gamkin mi behemois chulu, also from these animals. Lahasar shalamala, to the governing or ministering angel of above. Bichdei, in order, why are they doing it? Shal yedei zeh, that by doing so, by serving sacrifices, by taking animals and bringing them, so to say, up to their sar, their officer, mamshich, he draws down shefa chayus toiv haOlam hazalamata, a flow of energy of the benefits and of the good of this physical world down here. So in other words, if they want to get good, they want to receive, they want prosperity and all the good stuff, so therefore they are offering sacrifices. So just like in Kedusha, when we bring an animal up, it goes all the way up to its source, and then that causes that we have a flow of energy coming down. So it works the same system in the opposite of Kedusha. Vizehu, and this is Ma'amar Hanoshim Ho'arurois. So this is referring to a verse as from the book of Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah. Let me actually get it. Give me one moment.
I'm sorry to do this, but I must have missed something in the beginning in the shir, because I'm like, can you just put me what we're talking about?
Oh, yeah. So we were talking about how Yisrael does their sacrifices and how they use a nefesh behemoth of, an actual behemoth, And then and forgive me, I'm not giving over exactly the way it is in detail.
No, you're doing
and
good.
Then it's united with the oifos, the birds, and then from there it's consumed by the face of the lion. That then proceeds to go into Malchus of Atzilus.
Wow.
That's how Yisrael does it. But then the Umot haOlam, the nations, they do it in like a reverse order. And that's what Rabbi Turen was
they're talking about when they bring a carbon to the Beis Hamikdash. Are we talking about?
No. Oh yeah, you as a Yisrael. But then they talk about how non-Jews or Umot haOlam, whatever you want to call them, how when they do their they do sacrifices too, but they are not going. It appears that it doesn't go from their perspective to Atzilus. They're
offering animals that are impure animals.
Yes,
and they're offering it to their sar of the 70 sar.
Okay, so we're talking about not when they come to the Beis Hamikdash. We're talking about
No.
Just their offerings in general.
They're avodah zara.
And it would be an unclean animal, unclean animals.
So when Umot haOlam are offering up an offering, it's it's with a consciousness that it's to their sar?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Wow.
That's the Avodah Zarah. That's what they're doing. They are serving. Why are they bringing a carbon? Because they want to benefit and they want to get hasha of the good stuff in this. They want to get good in this world. They want to prosper. How do they prosper? So they go to the source. What's their source? Their klipa. So their source is klipa satmeos.
So they're offering a offering directly to klipa.
Yeah.
So like one of the servants or like a shituf type thing.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. Now I'm caught up. Thank you.
Okay, now we find in Book of Yirmiyahu, chapter 44, where Hashem is telling Yirmiyahu that he's going to take payment and punish for all those idolaters. And for the Jews that are worshiping Avodah Zarah. And then you had a whole bunch of people answered back to Yirmiyahu that they knew that their wives were offering sacrifices and incense and things to other gods. And it was a lot of women. And these were people that were in the land of Mitzrayim. So they say like this. So this is now quoting. And this is the statement of the cursed women. What do they say? Umot. So this would be chapter 44. This is verse 18, as he's about to quote. Uminaz chodalnu hater, and from then we have ceased to offer this incense offering, limleches hashamayim, various different hosts or enemies of the heavens, chulu, etc. So then what does it say? Chasarnu kol, we're doing everything. In other words, stopped offering these offerings to these various different ministering angels, and ever since we stopped, we're not getting what we need. So in other words, they're complaining and they're saying, you tell us not to bring offerings to these things. Well, ever since we stopped, we don't have our sustenance, our money, our wealth, our good, all the good things that we want. So that's the complaint they're telling the prophet Yirmiyahu. Yirmiyah Siman Memdalad Yudches. So that's in Yirmiyahu chapter 44, verse 18. V'ayin mizeh ba'akeda shar mem zayin. Now Tzemach Tzedek is telling us to look in a Kabbalah Sefer called the Akeda in gate 47 there, Ube'ikarim Mem Gimel Perek Yudches. And in the Sefer HaIkarim, which is another philosophy, a Jewish philosophy Sefer, and over there he tells us exactly where to look it up. V'hainu, meaning to say, Sha'amru, that what do they say? What was their claim? Shal Yidei HaHaktara, that through the offering of this incense, the hiskarvus, and the coming close, the sacrificing, hahala milamato lamaila, elevating from below upward, taking physical, whether it's an animal, whether it's various different ingredients, whatever it was, by burning it up, by elevating it up from down upward, lehasar, to their spiritual ministering angel, to whichever country it is, whichever nation it is, to the one of the 70, v'hakoichav, and to their star, himshichu, they drew down tuv haOlam hazeh, the good of this physical world. That's how it worked. They opened up the channel. They opened up the funnel. That's how it worked. Asher ayin sarim hanal, the 70 ministering angels that we mentioned before, hanal, hanizkarim leil, mentioned above, haim, they are mimunim, appointed, umashpiim, and they're the ones that bring the flow of energy lemata down. Kol echad, each one of them, le'amoy, to its nation, u'la'artzoy, and to its land, chelkoi hanitan lohem, his portion. There's 70 spiritual ministering angels. Every one of them is in charge of one of the 7 nations. Thus, we have all of the nations of the world. Each one has its one sar, its one officer, and each one of them is in charge of giving life, giving good, and plenty, and energy, and all the goods of this whole world. They want, so the people down here, they want it. And the only way they get it is if they actually serve and elevate, say, the physical animal to that particular sar, to that particular officer. Valderech zeh, how timely this is. So we mentioned in the beginning that, wow, I realized, wow. It never fails. Rambam always connected. We're starting to learn to meet the laws of idolatry, of Avodah Zarah. This week's parsha is the parsha de Zara, Egel. So we mentioned the Ram. Now look what he says. This is this week's parsha. Wow. Valderech zeh, and along these lines, Haya Inyan ha'egel. This is what the sin of the golden calf was. This is the mistake that the Jewish people, the Bnei Yisrael, made back then when they made the calf.
Oh, wow.
What happened there? What did they want? Sheratzu, they wanted lahamshich, to draw down mi bechinas pnei shor shebaberava. Now that said, the Jewish people do when you bring a carbon. So they want to draw down from this very lofty source in the chariot of above, which there is the face of the ox over there, amongst the other faces. They wanted to draw down energy from that level of Kedusha. They were trying to get to the 70 ministering angels because talking about Jewish people, Bnei Yisrael. So they're not connected, they're not through one of these 70, but they wanted to get from the Pnishor, the face of the ox, so that they can get all of the energy drawn down onto them of the Merkava.
So they were trying to do it.
Huh?
They were trying to do it right, because even what you were talking about earlier, the behemoths is the way to go, but they were doing it in a weird way.
Right. Instead of offering a carbon, a sacrifice on the altar, they wanted to actually do it in this way.
Ah, wow.
Ukamuvan, and as is understood, Mimashe Kasuv Berabois, from what is written or explained in the Midrash Rabbah, Kisisa, on this week's Parsha, on the section of Kisisa in the book of Exodus, Parsha Mem Beis, section 42 in Midrash Rabbah on the book of Exodus, Vishoimtin Echad Mehen, and they would pull out one of them, umachisim oisoi boy, and anger him with it. Shenemar, as it states, ufnei shor mehasmoil chuli, that the face of the ox is from the left in the Merkava, in the chariot, etc. Ayin sham. So he's telling us to look further into the midrash. So the lion faces, we said, on the right, but the face of the ox on the left. So what is really going on? So now the Tzemach Tzedek is going to sum it up, and it's going to be basically what we've been saying in the previous pieces. The toichen ha'inyan. So the content of what is going on, what's fear? Shehu al derech, that along the same lines, it's similar to Karule Elokad Elokaya, that they're calling Hashem the God of gods. B'shilei Maseches Menachos, at the end of Tractate Menachos, which speaks all about the offerings that are brought from flour in the Beis HaMikdash. Instead of animals or birds, there's a flower offering. Taf Kuf Yamud Aleph, page 110a. The Oimrim, and what do they say? What is their philosophy? What's their mistake? Azav Hashem es haaretz, that Hashem has left the earth, the day hasar, in the hands of the misters. That's the mistake. They think that because there are 70 ministering angels, there are, each one is in charge of one nation, which it is. They think that they are now independent entities, and again, instead of viewing them as a tool, an accent of the whipper, viewing the sarim as individuals that have choices, and it's the butler serving the wine. That's a mistake.
So they must have seen this at the Tzias Mitzrayim when Zeh Kalim V'Amveyu. They must have seen clearly how it all works.
No, we're talking about mistakes. The Umot of the good.
What? I thought we were talking about the ego.
No, then we've shifted. That's what the ego was about. But we're saying this is the visions of the world. Haolam are that's the mistake. And now we think us again. Take a good look at what it says from this Likutei Torah, again in Likutei Torah, B'Shir Hashirim, in the section of Shir Hashirim, in the discourse with the opening verse from Shir Hashirim that says 60 are the queens. There's a verse Shir Hashirim that says there are 60 queens and I think 80 concubines and infinite, no number of maidens. So anyway, in that discourse, on verse 60 are the queens. He goes into explaining this. V'zeu she'ashim, now getting back to the Yirmiyahu, and this was the response. This is what he responded to them. Yirmiyahu, prophet Jeremiah, over there in chapter 34. What does he say to them? They claim that when stopped do these things, so they don't receive any more benefits. They stopped getting their flow of good of this world. So he tells them, let me find it here. So then Yirmiyahu says to all of them, okay, so the women are the ones that had that complaint, because they were the ones who were primarily doing all those forbidden offerings. Then he responds, it says, to the men as well as the women and to all the people, whoever had a complaint. And he says to them, Haloi es hakite, behold, that incense offering, asher kitartem, you have offered, chulu etra. Okay, the etzet is in the cities of Judah and in the outskirts of Jerusalem. You and your forebears, your parents, your kings and your officers, and the people of the land. Then he says, all of them, Zachar Hashem, Hashem is remembered, Vatal Alibu, and it has come up to his heart, to our heart. V'lo yuchal, and is, so to say, unable. Hashem oid laseis. Hashem, so to say, is unable to bear, to handle anymore. Mipnei ria ma'alalechem, because of the evil of your sinning or doing. That's the verse. Chulu, etc. And then, therefore, your land is going to be desolate and cursed. No one is going to dwell there. Because you've sinned like this and you've done all this, and you didn't listen and hearken Hashem's voice, and you didn't follow his laws and his Torah, you didn't go in his ways, therefore all of this evil has happened to you. Okay, so that's the discussion that Yirmi is having with those people that were serving idolatry. That basically Hashem is fed up. V'hainu, meaning, kichol ha'omer, anyone who says, okay, this is a statement from the Talmud, kichol ha'omer, whoever says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu vatran, that Hashem is a not a giver, but foregoer, that he's like ready to let it go. That what's the English word? That when someone doesn't mind something, they let it go.
Is that to loose? No.
No. Vatron.
No.
That he's a what's the English word for it?
I know what you're trying to say.
Easygoing or something.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. If someone insults you, you forgive on your honor, so to speak. You or someone takes something from you, eventually you just say, give up. Okay, I don't care anymore. Just keep it.
Yeah, something like that. So anybody who says that Hashem is a varon, is one who is like ready to just let it go, yivatrun me'ohi. So then that person who says that, his innards should become like that, meaning should, it's sort of a curse. He should become like, let go. Like who needs that? Ella, rather, what is the truth? Marich apei. Hashem has lots of patience. He's very, very slow to anger. The gabe delay. But he takes payment of his. In other words, he does not forget about it. He's got all time in the world.
But Eugene Zatzal used to say, God waits long but pays quick.
So it's, in other words, he's not in any rush. So therefore, it may seem like he doesn't care or he gets about this, but that's not so. He is erech apayim. He's very, very long, get angry, but he takes payment. Meaning, kihine, for behold, bechina zoi, this aspect or this idea of idol worship, of worshiping, of idolatry, worshiping stars. Hine, behold, b'nishos Yisrael, in the Jewish souls, for the Jew people, eish he, it's fire, ad, until avdoin toichal, it will consume, it will destroy. So Jewish people to worship or bring sacrifices to anything other than Hashem, so that is fire, and the individual will be consumed and lost. And as is written, Parshas Va'eschanan, in the book of Devarim, Deuteronomy, in the section of Va'eschanan, Dalet Yutes, chapter 4, verse 19. What does it say? We quote, Asher cholak Hashem Elikecha Oisam, that Hashem, your God, has given this portion, L'chol ha'amim, all the nations, chulu. In other words, these stars, these constellations, all of the things Hashem has given the nations of the world. Like they have the 70 ministering angels, etc. And then the verse continues, Ve'eschem, but you, Jewish people, Yisrael, Lokach Hashem chuli, Hashem has taken, etc., to be for him, to be the people, the nation of inheritance, etc. In other words, they all have all these things, but you, the Jewish people, how dare you? You have nothing to do with needing to receive through all of these various different means. Hashem has chosen and taken you to be his portion.
Whoa.
V'haramaz, Parshas Hazinu, and one of the big Kabbalists, Mikulim, known as the Ramaz, which is quoted quite often in Luther, etc. So on the portion Hazinu, towards the end of the book of Devarim, Deuteronomy, Pierre Bazet has explained what this means, explained these verses. Yuyan Sham, one should take a look there. V'zeu shekasuv, and this is what is written Nitzavim, in the Torah portion of Nitzavim, which again, that's really towards the very end of the 5 books of the book of Deuteronomy. And we quote, Pen yesh bachem chuli, perhaps lest there is amongst you, and then the verse continues, anybody who is rebellious, anybody who is serving anything besides Hashem, v'hisbarech bilavavai, and maybe there's some amongst you Jews that dare entertain the thought in his heart, etc., meaning to say that he can worship something other than Hashem. Lo yoive Hashem sloyach loichuli. Hashem will not want to forgive that person, etc. V'hainu, meaning to say, lefi sheneshamas Yisrael, because the Jewish souls nimshachim are drawn, they come mibechinas hapnimius, from the inner godly levels. The Jewish soul is coming from internal levels. As it's always quoting a verse, the book of Exodus, right before the giving of the Torah, that Hashem tells Moshe to go tell the Jews the following praise and the following great news. Ve'atem, you, Jewish people, tihiyu li, shall be for me, mamleches kohanim, a priestly kingdom, the goy koish, and a holy sacred nation. Al kain, therefore, re'uyim heim, they are fit, lekabel, to receive, shifam, their flow of godly energy and love and whatever good there's the good Jewish people supposed to receive in the world. Panim b'fam, face to face, direct, so to say, from Hashem. Bilti shum emtsai, without any intermediate, etc. In other words, we don't go through stars or constellations, the ministering angels, or a high God level. We get it directly face to face. Shekain Ksiv, for it written, and now we of course quote the verse from the 10 Commandments, the second commandment. Lo yeh lecha, thou shalt not have Elokim acherim, any other gods, al panai, on my face, in my presence, meaning as long as I exist and wherever I am, you, speaking to the Jewish people, may not have any others. At kan dvarav, up to here is the basic quote of what the what is explained. So this was taken from, as it says in the parentheses now, Biurei HaZoyar, the Tzemach Tzedek's explanations on the Zoyar, and tells us the page, and so forth. So with that, we have concluded the first section of the 17 topics. That was the end of the first topic of the nations of the world's grasp of godliness and how they view Hashgacha, Hashem's supervision and interaction. So the next piece that we're up to now is Kabbalas Chiyusam, how they receive vitality.
Wow, that was amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing how the panim, how do you say that? But the faces, how it went through the text. It was talking about the faces. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
All right. Gotta go.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi Turen. Thank you, Yossi.
Sure.
Yeah.
All the best.
God willing, next week, right?
Yes.
Emir Hashem. Yes. Bli neder.
All right.
Okay.
Be well. Shavua Tov and Hag Sameach Purim.
Thank you. Don't get too drunk.
Yeah. Well, you as well. I don't know if you guys do that or not, but all right. All right. Be well. Take care.
All the best.
Okay. I don't know how to get out of this.